Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Real Talk, sponsored by the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex is the single easiest way to build a community, a country, and an economy funded primarily by warring other nations. The first question today for Real Talk comes from user Joseph. And he asks, let's find the exact question. Joseph, how far up was this question? Would you please talk about the brewing storm in the Far East and Eastern Africa, Afghan, and the cluster that is Eastern Africa? Sure. Felipe, cut the music. Let me just process it for a second. You know what I'm saying? It's a tough one. It really is a tough one. The question really comes up like, what is my opinion of it? My opinion is probably we shouldn't have been there to begin with, right? That was 20 years ago, and really, if you think about it, like probably further back than that. I think in the 80s, Russia and the US had like some like proxy wars in Afghanistan, but let's just call it 20 years ago, we go to invade Afghanistan in response to 9/11. This is my summary of it. I could be way wrong on details, so don't hold it too hard on me. But we go invade U.S. When I say we the United States of America, go and invade country in response to a terrorist act. And, it's tough. You obviously have to kind of police your country and your borders, and you have the right to push back on people. But for 20 years, we tried to build a nation, right? And then, literally 1 month, or maybe less, the nation's retaken by the same people that were running it 20 years ago. And so really all you looked at was 20 years of the military spending, 20 years of weapons and contractors over there doing stuff to bolster a community that ultimately will be ruled by the same people that we went there to disperse, whatever you want to call it. And that's an unfortunate scenario to be in, for sure. I also feel extremely bad. And I mean, the saddest part, the part that I am personally like hurt by, is the people that are being impacted by it, right? Because like when countries go to war, people, what's this line from, what band is that? It's like, why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they always send the poor? The concept of that is, poor people and people are disadvantaged in life are typically the ones that get impacted the worst by that kind of stuff, right? They really are. In the U.S. specifically, the military does appeal in oftentimes to more economically challenged places, right? It gives people who don't really have a lot of opportunities in life a way to break out of their community, learn a skill, and I think there's a lot of positives in the military. I mean, I was in ROTC growing up, but they do prey on those individuals as a way to maybe make them to fund the people needed to do these tasks, right? So that part's unfortunate. And in Afghanistan, there is a huge group of people. I was reading an article a couple days ago that don't even know that 9/11 happened, right? Like, they don't know that there was this terrorist group that did that. Like, that doesn't even exist in their world. And their people are horribly impoverished. And it's really sad to see the airport right now. There was humans jumping onto the airplanes that were taking off, trying to hold on to a moving airplane. Imagine how bad things have to be for you to get onto an airplane and hold on to it, the outside of it, as it takes off, So I feel horrible for those people. Now, what's the solution? Do I look like a nation builder to you? No. The solution, I think, to a lot of the world's problems, which is education, teaching people that there's a better way, empowering communities to understand the way that like a productive economy can function, right? Because at the end of the day, like the biggest thing that I think the Taliban, one of the biggest things that I'm aware of that they do negatively is they're extremely aggressive against women. I saw that they're going to shut down the ability for women to be newscasters. Basically, they have to wear like the entire traditional Muslim garb, slit like eyes only visible there. And I understand it's culturally their thing, right? But in the same way that like the United States and other developed nations don't enforce cultural norms to their total society, I think that's where you get really rough, is when like a religious sect and a that sort of structure of life still reigns supreme. And the only way to break out of it, in my opinion, is education. And that doesn't happen overnight. That does take 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years to accomplish, right? I think of countries like Japan, countries like Korea. I mean, even countries like the UK and Spain and Portugal and Germany. Like at one point, they were all ruled by kings, right? They were all ruled by autocratic dictators at some level. Whether or not those people were like benevolent or not, who knows? But as people gained education, as they gained skills and access to money, they are able to break free from the control that those limited folks have. And then those people disappear. And, you know, it doesn't happen tomorrow or next week, but it happens over time. So education, learning, I think that's the key. And maybe we didn't invest enough into helping build those sort of systems. Maybe 20 years is too short. Maybe we shouldn't have been there to begin with, but the point is we're at that spot now. It's really sad what's happening in Afghanistan. And all I could say is, you know, hopefully there's a way to get some aid to those people so that they can leave, right? Because if an economy loses all of these refugees, it will impact them negatively. They probably won't succeed. The country will fall apart, and hopefully someone new can come in and be more realistic. So that was Real Talk, sponsored to you by refugee programs. Nobody wants refugees in their backyard because it's difficult to manage them, but let's be honest, people need help, especially if they're willing to hold on to an airplane that's going to go 30,000 feet in the air just to survive and to avoid that. I think they need help. Thank you for joining me on Real Talk today.